Hello there. Welcome back to the 4th episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. This one's a special one because we did not do 1 half hour of KOTOR.
We did a whole hour.
We did 2 half hours or 1 whole hour. We did this. This is now officially the 4th and 5th half hours of Knights of the Old Republic 1.
It's so funny that that's become our go-to unit. We did 2 half hours of KOTOR.
So we are almost halfway through the game. Cutscenes. Next week will be our halfway point through KOTOR. In the first half hour is pretty simple. Revan and the team go to a corrupted grove on Dantooine, and they discover Juhani, a fallen Padawan, who has fallen to the dark side. She is a fallen Jedi, and then Revan succeeds in not only dueling her, but converting her back to the light side. The second half hour sees Revan going to the Sith homeworld of Korriban to try and get the another piece of the star map already found on Dantooine. So yeah, first let's go to Juhani. Juhani has been voted, and I'm going to quote this right now. Okay, here it is. Juhani was listed by UGO Networks as the 10th worst expanded universe character ever.
Wow.
Of all the characters, 10th worst.
I'd hate to see what the top 9 are, I honestly would.
No kidding. I mean, mine would include Revan, but, that's me. It's just really interesting how much people don't like this character.
Yeah.
She's also the first ever LGBTQ character in Star Wars lore.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
She's only a romancing option for female Revans.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's actually interesting.
I didn't expect that, but that's kind of an interesting touch.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Juhani is an interesting character because she turns to the dark side basically off assumption that her master's dead and that she killed her, when she really, didn't.
Didn't, yeah.
It's just really, I guess this whole Juhani subplot is really interesting. It feels like the Jedi Council is just like, shoot, we need something for you to do. Let's do this.
Yeah,
It feels too convenient.
Yeah, it feels like a you kind of get the sense that it's just an errand that
it really is.
Developers are making you play just to kind of kill some time before the next big
UGO Networks and their ranking. She's just utterly pointless. She's almost a non-entity in the story. Her personality couldn't be more vanilla. Her Jedi skills are inferior to others in your party. Even the simple act of looking at Juhani provokes annoyance. First of all, damn.
Wow, that's a little harsh, but I think that's pretty accurate.
It really is accurate, I gotta say.
On a different note,
I
was going to say that I found myself quite surprised by how kind of interested and sucked in I got into these cutscenes. Like, it's really picking up. I didn't think
I didn't
think I would find myself so interested.
Once we get off the planets that you don't choose the order, and then the planets that you do choose the order, Korriban and so actually, here's an interesting idea, which is that Korriban, in my playthrough of KOTOR about 7 or 8 months ago, was the last planet I visited. But in this, it's the first planet I visited.
Interesting. All right.
How
did that change it? Tell me.
Well, it felt more of a natural progression. Revan grew in his power in the Force, and then finally had to face his final test on what other planet but a planet of the Sith. Where in this version, he goes to the Sith planet immediately, and it's like, really? Yeah. In my version, we went to Tatooine first, to promote that classic OT nostalgia. We went to Kashyyyk, and we did the Lion King thing. We went to Manon, which was interesting. And then we went to Korriban finally. In this version, it's Korriban, then Manon, then Tatooine, then Kashyyyk, which is almost completely the opposite order that I did it.
Interesting.
Actually, also, once doing 3 planets, there's another thing that prevents you from doing the 4th planet immediately, but then you get back on the 4th planet. But we'll see that later. But back on Dantooine for a second, because I want to finish, because everything on Dantooine before we go to Korriban.
Okay.
On Dantooine, we discover the Builder Temple. The Builder Temple over here with the droid.
Oh, is that like the Rakuten droid? Or
The Rakatan droid, yeah.
The Rakuten droid, yes.
Now, we don't know this yet, but, this is the official Wikipedia page about the Rakata. The Rakata, also known as the Builders, were humanoid species with distinctive amphibian features. They were a technologically advanced race that developed early in galactic history, even developing some early hyperdrive technology. Long-term use of the dark side of the Force corrupted their society and turned them into a race of merciless warriors. They made this thing called the Infinite Empire. They can strip entire planets of resources. They can terraform worlds. They can kill so many people. And their biggest accomplishment, of course, was making a weapon called, not a weapon, but like a building called the Starforge.
That plays a big role in this, doesn't it?
It is the Death Star of
interesting.
KOTOR.
And where do the Rakatans originate from? What planet did they come from?
Probably Rakata Prime.
Isn't that a ocean world? I think I read about that in the Darth Bane novel. It's an ocean world. Okay.
Yeah, we will visit there at the end of KOTOR 1.
Oh, alright.
After, I'll show you over here, and we see some active Rakata on the world. I don't know where it is around here. Oh, here it is. It's like, you see, this is an active Rakatan over there.
Yeah.
That's living on Lehon, also known as Rakata Prime.
That's interesting. I think that, it's interesting. Kind of fits the, I feel like in a lot of sci-fi, there's this theme of having the precursor alien.
Yeah.
So it's ancient alien species. Maybe there's 1 or 2 surviving. They have some crazy powerful technology, but they got wiped out by some other entity.
In this case,
I think it's interesting to see how that kind of gets played out here. That stereotype.
It is very interesting.
Another thing before we jump over and start talking about Korriban, another thing that I was interested by, and that I found surprising, was the way in which the ranks of the Jedi were structured. How you had Bastila, who we discovered was a Padawan, correct? Is that not right?
Yeah.
And boy, does she have... She has a lot of sass for a Padawan. So
I think we did this last episode too, yeah.
Eli, remind me, when was this game published exactly?
2003.
2003, so that was before Revenge of the Sith, but after Attack of the Clones, no?
Yep.
That's really interesting. So I definitely think that then they knew what George Lucas's structure was going to be, at least for the prequel trilogy for the Jedi. So I assume that they just made it different because they could, and because that was their vision, and because they had it happening so long before in universe time.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's so far before they could have changed down the line. We can pretty much do anything we want.
It must be fun to have that kind of freedom to get to play in a part in some big intellectual property.
Yeah, true.
But I don't know.
I don't think the Disney canon people have that much freedom. I think they have a lot of freedom, like what they did in especially the New Thrawn trilogy with the Grisk. Like, that's wild. That's out there. And what they're doing in the Dr. Aphra comics.
I haven't read the Dr. Aphra comics. What are they doing?
They're, what?
The Dr. Aphra comics. I haven't read them. What are they doing in those?
Like, there's Force-sensitive fungi and, killer droids. It's really interesting stuff in the Dr. Aphra.
000?
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but 000.
No, but...
He's like an evil C-3PO. He's crazy.
Yeah,
I love him.
They still do a lot of creative freedom in the, new, and not to mention,
absolutely, that wasn't a comment on that.
And, the Zepho from Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the Sith planet of Korriban.
So I found it interesting that there were civilians living there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like...
I thought that, I was under the impression that it was just Sith hanging out, being angry, but maybe not.
Maybe not. There's actually civilians living there. We cut over to Korriban. I realized that for the first part of this episode, I wasn't recording on my microphone. I was actually just recording on the internal microphone of the computer. And I'm gonna try and equalize the volumes of it, but, I'm sorry in advance if the level of stuff is not as good in the first part.
Well,
Korriban has 3 names in Legends. 3 names.
Korriban,
Moraband.
I thought Moraband was canon.
It's both.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, Korriban's also canon.
Oh, okay. Aren't they the same thing now?
Yes. But both names are canon. But in Legends, there's 3 names: Korriban, Moraband, and Pessigim.
Pessigim.
Pessigim. Look at this. Known as Pessigim during the reign of Zim the Despot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, I gotta say. Yeah. But the Sith are just kind of there. It's like... What I, don't really understand is, okay, the Jedi know there's a Sith planet out there, and they know there's an active Sith Academy out there, right?
Yeah, they do.
So why didn't they just, like, orbitally bombard Korriban?
I don't know.
It's just interesting.
It's not the Jedi way. Maybe it's not the Jedi way. I don't know.
I know, but
I bet they had their
allowing the Sith to just kind of emerge on Korriban is interesting.
Maybe they couldn't get there. Maybe the Sith army was too strong and their spaceships couldn't. Their cruisers couldn't get to the surface or whatever. You know.
Yeah. What I find most interesting about this sequence, I gotta say, is Sith training.
Yeah, I thought the prestige mechanic was pretty funny.
It was. It's very gamified. But
you have enough How many times we were watching this playthrough? Three different times.
3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times they said, "You have impressed me, but you do not have quite enough. But you have not gained quite enough prestige."
And by the 3rd time, I was like, "Come on already."
I have matters to attend to.
He said that about
saying I have matters to attend to. It was hilarious.
The Uthar Wynn, it was
the Sith Master.
The Sith Master. Yeah. He kept reminding me of the Inquisitor from Rebels Season 1. He looks with his tattoos like the Grand Inquisitor. And man, the Sith cannot stop betraying people, by the way.
They really can't.
The Sith way is betrayal on this planet. We see 6 or 7 different betrayals in 30 minutes. It's kind of hilarious. We kill that girl Lashao because we want the Jedi holocron. We kill the other guy because he wanted to claim credit for figuring out where where the thing on the ship was.
Yeah.
We betray so many people. Also, you know who else we betray?
Who?
Calo Nord. He's back.
What is Calo Nord again?
He's back from the dead. The 1, 2, 3 guy. Remember?
Oh yeah.
He's back from the dead, and
he blow himself up.
He's hunting us down on Coruscant. Not Coruscant, Korriban. He's hunting us down on Korriban in my version and in the version on the Galaxy of Heroes Revan event. It's Tatooine, but in this version it's Korriban.
Okay.
It's really interesting the changes in this. Also, we get another glimpse at of course, the Sith Code. Which is really interesting because it's it's very opposite of the Jedi. You know, the Jedi is the Jedi Code is of course well, I'm forgetting the Jedi Code off the top of my head. The Jedi Code is of course there is no emotion, there's peace. There is no emotion, there's no emotion, there's peace. There is no ignorance, there's knowledge. There's no passion, there's serenity. There's no death, there is the Force. But the Sith Code... I was
surprised that I knew the whole thing.
I know, I was surprised too. As written by Swords of Sin, the Sith Code is peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion I gain strength. Through strength I gain power. Through power I gain victory. Through victory my chains are broken. My Force shall free me. There's actually a version in the Sith language, which of course, by the way, is not ra 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 ma ha ra ha.
Ra ma ma ha ra ha ma.
1 and 2 and No, Brian, stop, Brian, you're pitchy. It's Rama ha ha ma ha, and you're going Rama ha ha ra ha. You see the difference? Okay.
Brian, you're off, Brian. For those who don't know what we're talking about, go see How It Should Have Ended, The Rise of Skywalker. So hilarious. We'll leave it
that
in.
That video made me laugh.
We'll leave it in the description.
Still not as good as Capture Me a Wookiee.
But the word in Sith is called Kotsisajak. Literally, way of the Sith doctrine, and it goes like this.
Nuultash Tuzwal Shasokan Shasot Jontu Chatsatu Nultiuk Tuk Jontu Chatsatal Nu Midwan Jontu Chatsatul Nuasha Asa Jontu Kot Sin Swinot Itsunuyak Wonox Kizik Nyun.
Wow, well, I think for that to be in KOTOR, it would need to be at least 30% slower, because whenever an alien speaks...
It's always so long.
The thing that bugs me about KOTOR, when an alien speaks in a cutscene, they could say hello. And
it would be like 5 words.
It would be like... It would be like it would be like... I think if an alien actually just said, like, howdy there, it would be like...
2 or 3 words.
At least 10 syllables. Like, I don't understand why everything has to be twice as long as
it's kind of stupid, honestly. It's really strange. What else? I'm trying to look at... So there's, like, they also are talking about going into the tomb of Naga Sadao. Now, they say Nagasado, which is not how it's pronounced. It's Nagasado. I literally, Jacob, you can witness this. You've witnessed this. I literally screamed at the computer when I was watching it. That's not how you pronounce it. Nagasado, I gotta say, a really interesting guy. He was kind of reckless. He wasn't like the Sith of old. The Sith of old, named, the Sith of old led by a guy named Ludo Kresh. Ludo Kresh.
I know that name.
Ludo Kresh was a Sith traditionalist, and he's like, oh my god, there are other people in the core. We shouldn't do anything. We should not do anything. We should wait and bide our time. Nagasao was like, no.
Now! No, Anakin, no! No!
And Sadao basically started the everlasting conflict between the Sith and the Republic that would last for thousands of years. He eventually went into exile on the planet of Yavin 4, and enslaved many Masasi, and his Masasi built the temple on Yavin that stood for thousands of years, eventually being used by the Rebel Alliance.
The Masasi.
That were building their base on Yavin, millenniums later. He was an interesting guy, and they're visiting his tomb on Korriban, which is interesting because wait, is it actually him in the tomb? That sounds strange, but is that actually... Although Sadao's Korriban tomb did not contain his remains. Wait.
Wait a second.
So he wasn't buried in his own freaking tomb.
If Naga Sadao wasn't buried in his tomb, where was he buried, Eli? Do you know?
Actually, it says, meanwhile, Sadao's actual resting place remained in relative obscurity.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wasn't really expecting that, but okay.
Yeah, it's just like, not anywhere. Where is Ulysses S. Grant buried? Not in his tomb. That's strange. This is deep into Star Wars lore. Quick, find some way to connect it to Clone Wars Season 7.
I can't think of anything.
I can't think of anything.
7, Eli, sorry. But
it's fine. Oh, these, also there are these Sith runaways. I can connect these to... The Sith runaways remind me of the First Order runaways in Rise of Skywalker on Kefbir. That's my connection. That's my connection to modern Star Wars. We did it. We connected ourselves to modern Star Wars.
So, guys, we did it.
So, guys, we connected it to modern Star Wars. Yeah, it's just really interesting how Sith training is. That's the other thing. Sith training is really interesting. It's a lot of backstabbing and betrayal, and, like, we've, of course, seen Sith training in the canon. Not very much, but the biggest way we've seen Sith training is the training of Savage Opress by Count Dooku in the episode. I think it was Warrior of the Clone Wars. I did it, guys. I connected to modern Star Wars yet again. It's just, we're heating up to some interesting ideas in KOTOR, and it's going to be interesting to see, I guess, how it expands from here to... Because it's interesting, like, Tatooine is not going to, like... Korriban is one of the most rich planets in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
Kashyyyk's really interesting, but Korriban's really interesting. And Manon's actually pretty... It's fascinating, but again, it's really like... We're still in a lot of expositional phases. We're not grand conflicts again. They keep mentioning Darth Revan, and it's like, do none of them know what he looks like?
Yeah,
they're like afraid to bring Bastila onto Korriban because people could know what Bastila looks like. But if they knew what Bastila looks like, wouldn't they know what their former ruler looked like?
I mean, in the game's defense, he was wearing a mask. I'm guessing he was wearing a mask most of the time, and he was wearing a mask. He was wearing a mask as Darth Revan.
Yeah.
And Amnesia Revan is wearing a dust filter mask or something on his face too. So I mean, I don't blame them. He's wearing different clothes. He's probably got a different haircut. Probably got a new look. Probably switched things up a bit after getting exiled and I don't know what else, or getting amnesia or
it's
things
just
like that.
Yeah, it's just interesting that no one says like, oh my god, there's much power in you. Hey, maybe you're like related to Revan or somehow. Or... I mean, it's a jump, but still, it's like no one realized.
The Sith probably think themselves to be kind of realists, and I'm guessing that would strike them as pretty far fetched. I'm guessing, but it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, the way of the Sith is so much betrayal that, Yuthuraban, who's that instructor, is gonna betray the other instructor to be the best instructor. Yay. It's just, the way of the Sith is plagued by betrayal. The way they talk about the Jedi, too, is interesting. Like, the Sith are like, in the canon, are like the Jedi are fools. The Sith and Legends are like, the Jedi don't deserve to be called fools.
Yeah.
They really hate the Jedi. Like, really, really hate the Jedi. It's kind of ridiculous how much they actually hate the Jedi. I guess that's what's propelling the Star Wars, as the Duel of the Fates script says.
Did you talk about the Sith greeting yet that we were talking about?
Oh, the May the Force serve you well.
Yes, tell the good folks whoever may be happening to have stumbled across this deep in the jundling wastes of Spotify or
whatever,
Apple, what have you.
The Sith have this greeting, which is interesting. The Jedi have, of course, May the Force be with you. But the Sith have May the Force serve you well. I
like that.
I really like it.
It's so fitting.
It's fitting for the Sith because they see the Force... They said this. The Jedi view the Force as a tool. But it's like... And you have to work with the tool. Yeah. It's like you're one half of the tool and the tool is the other half of the tool.
Yeah.
But the
to it. And also kind of it's like the Force flows through you. You don't control it. You're a conduit.
But the Sith think that the Force is a gift. It's like it's like the biological determining that you were talking to me about earlier.
Yeah, biological determinism.
It's like
they were talking about how
the Force makes you special.
The Force, therefore, we have the right to make other people's lives miserable using the Force.
There was literally an entire 1 or 2 minute mark where the Sith Master was like, how should I torture this guy? Hey, you there, fallen Jedi, help me. How should I torture this guy? And we're like, I don't know. They're like, no, but seriously, the Force makes me special. This guy doesn't have the Force, but he's trying anyway, so he's not special.
It's kind of sad. But...
It's sadistic. Let me tell you, it's really darn sadistic. But I guess, in the end, that is the way of the Sith.
It is the way of the Sith, indeed. That is how the Sith think.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Make sure to follow us on Spotify. I think we're on Breaker and Google Podcasts now. Eli from the future here. We are now finally on Apple Podcasts, so that's amazing. Also subscribe to us there. It's great. Make sure to keep listening. May the Force be with you. May the Force serve you well. Always.